Alright guys, let's look at these. So we're going to be dealing with subtracting decimals this week. So let's label this one 5.2, subtracting decimals. You can go ahead and write what you see right now. So when subtracting with decimals, line up your decimal points first, okay? And this is the first example we're going to look at. So if you need to pause it, go ahead, because I'm just going to keep talking throughout this. So whenever you need to pause, just pause. All right, so let's look at this one. You have that whole number 10, right? Then you want to subtract 1.274 from it. So since we're subtracting, we know that bigger number has to be on top. If we write a 10, we don't really know where that decimal point might go because there's not one there. So I would suggest writing the 1. All right, my marker's dying. 1.274 first, okay? And then we know where to put our 10 because we know we're going to add that decimal point and the zeros after it, right? So we're going to say a 10 here, then our decimal, see? So our two decimal points are lined up, and then we can add those zeros right here because we're going to need them. I'm going to switch colors because this one stinks. Okay, let's just go to blue. All right, so now we can subtract, right? Remember, we have our decimal point lined up. Now, you don't need to put a 0 here unless you really want to, because if you did 1 minus 0, it's just going to be 1, right? So we don't have to put a 0 there. I'm not going to put one there. You can if you want. All right, so let's do this. 0 minus 4. Well, we're not dealing with negative numbers, so we can't do that, right? We can't do for them this one, or this one, or this one. So we have to go all the way to that 1 and borrow. Remember when we did that? Not too long ago. So I'm going to borrow from him. He's now just going to be a 0, right? That one I borrowed is going to go in front of this and make him a 10. Now we can borrow for this column, okay? So let's borrow from our 10. That's a 9 now, okay? The one we borrowed goes in front, so now we have a 10 there that we can borrow from for this guy, right? We've got to go all the way over. So borrow 1, make him a 9. The one we borrowed goes in front. That's a 10. Borrow one more time for our guy over here, right? He's now a 9 because we borrowed 1, and the one we borrowed goes right in front. So we have 10 minus 4. Should give us a 6, right? Then we have 9 minus 7, should give us a 2. 9 minus 2 should give us a 7. Bring down the decimal point immediately. Do not go any farther till you bring that bad boy down. 9 minus 1 is 8. So that would be your answer for that one. You have to have the decimal point, you guys, or else it will be wrong. All right, let's do another one. Okay, let me move this up a little bit. So let's look at, let's do a 0.025, that's a 0, sorry, minus, let's do minus 0.01. Oops, I should have the 0 in front. I'll put the 0. Okay, so we got something like this, right? All right, let's line them up. So we've got decimals in both ones, in both problems, right? So we'll just start with the first one, 0.025 minus 0.01. Okay? Now, this is where it's up to you if you want to put a 0 there or not. We don't really need it, okay? But we can add it there since we did up here, right? There you go, same thing. So 5 minus 0 is 5. 2 minus 1 is 1. 0 minus 0 is 0. And then we just bring out that 0. So there you go. I want to do another example with a whole number because I know that can be tricky for some of you. So if you need to pause, go ahead and pause and write that down because I'm going to move on right now. Okay, so let's do another whole number because those can be tricky. Okay, let's do 25 minus 7.089. How about that? Okay. All right. So So we get to set this up where this one's easier because our whole number's in the front, right? Well, it's kind of like that 10. I shouldn't say it's easier. So we don't know where, well, we should know that that decimal point would be after that, right? So let's try that. So if we do a 25, we're going to add our decimal point afterward. We have 3 spaces after this decimal point, so we're going to add 3 zeros, okay? So you can do it the other way that I did the other one if that's easier, or do it this way, all right? Now we can do our subtract 7.089. Okay, write that down, pause if you need to. Okay, so we have zeros again. We can't do 0 minus 9, can't borrow from him, and we can't borrow from him because he's smaller than the 7. So we gotta go all the way over to that 2 again. So we're gonna borrow from the 2, take 1 away, it makes it a 1, right? And then let me do a different color so this doesn't blend in so much. Let's do purple. Okay, hopefully you can tell the difference. Okay, so that's now a 1. So now the one that we borrowed would go in front of this 5 and make that a 15. Okay, now we can borrow for this 0. So we're going to take 1 away from 15, which would make it a 14. The 1 we borrowed goes in front of that 0. Now we can borrow for the next 0. Take 1 away from that 10, that becomes a 9. The 1 goes in front, now that's a 10. Now, one more time to borrow for our last row here. Borrow from the 10, it becomes a 9. The 1 goes in front, so now we have 10 minus 9, right? 10 minus 9 would give us 1. 9 minus 8 would give us 1. 9 minus 0 would give us 9. Bring down the decimal point. 14 minus 7 would give us 7. And then we just bring that 1 down. Okay, I think I'll do one more. So I'm going to put that up there. Let's do one more example. I'm trying to think what I want to do. Let's do an 8.321 minus 0.06. Okay, let's do that. Let me change my colors again so it stands out more. I think I'll do red. Okay. Alrighty, let's set it up. So we have 8.321 minus 0.06. Okay, we can add the 0 here, or we can't, or we don't have to, but I'm going to put it, okay? Doesn't change it, right? So let's do our subtraction. Let's do 1 minus 0 is 1. I need new markers, you guys. Okay, 2 minus 6, we can't do that, right? Because that would be a negative number. So let's borrow from this 3. He now becomes a 2. And the one we borrowed goes in front of the 2. So now we have 12 minus 6. That should give us 6. Then we have 2 minus 0, which gives us 2. Decimal point. And then 8 minus 0 would give us 8. Okay, so go ahead and pause it if you need to. I'm going to end taping. And happy writing, you guys.